Hey everybody, this is Nate Savage. This is Savage 5050. I'm here with my girl, Kay Whitworth, on my YouTube channel, and we're going to talk to her about her YouTube channel because she's also a fellow YouTuber as well. Am I right?
Yep.
That's good. What's the name of your channel?
You can just search my name, Kay Whitworth, and it'll pop up. I think I'm the only one. Yeah.
Okay. What do you talk about? Like, what subject matters are you usually talking about on your page or your channel?
We're kind of all over the place. Mainly though, womanhood, like Southern womanhood, I guess is what you could call my niche. Mm-hmm. I just talk about my experience growing up in the South, my current experience with motherhood. So, I mean, it's very like, I guess, female targeted type material.
Okay. And I noticed like when I ever look at your YouTube channel, you go live most of the time.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you mainly just go live and talk to your subscribers, or do you just sometimes you make content and then you just upload it straight to YouTube, or is it usually always live?
As far as YouTube goes, I'm pretty much always live. I might post content from my other social media, like I'll post my TikToks or something. But yeah, for the most part, it's just live and me taking questions. We'll do karaoke. We just, like I said, it's really female based. So like anything women are into, like I might go live and do my makeup or my hair. I might go live in the store. So, just mainly live content, I guess. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So, I never really got into TikTok. I'm 31 years old, right? So,
right.
But the thing is, are you bigger on YouTube? I mean, are you more of like a TikToker or a YouTuber, you would say?
I guess I wouldn't really call myself either, but if we want to get down to like statistics, I do have the biggest following on TikTok. I have around 4,000 followers, which isn't a lot, but just, in the scale of my presence online, that's where I have the most engagement is TikTok. So I guess I am a TikTok.
Yeah. I mean, I always say anything more than 10 people, that's a lot, because you get an interaction. I never thought I would have as many people listening to me as I have now.
Me or
now I can hear you.
Okay, there it goes. All right, I was gonna say, is it me? Okay.
Well, I was saying like anything more than like 10 people, that's still a lot, like of people that like actually listen enough to care about what you're saying.
Oh yeah, I agree. Yeah, I get excited. I'm like, wow, like, and it happened really fast, like going from like 100 people to 4,000. It's like, whoa, yeah.
Was you always popular, like back in high school?
In high school, let me think. No, I grew up in the rural South. A little bit about my background, and by the time I was in high school, I was heavily focused on college. Mm-hmm. So I only did about a year in actual classroom, and where I'm from, we had a program where you could actually be homebound. So I would basically get my work at home and I could work. And I basically worked full time in high school, and I did high school on the side because we had like a special type of program. So I didn't really have much of a high school type experience, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, I feel you. So where you're from the South, correct?
Yes.
Where are you originally from, and where do you currently live?
I am from and still in North Carolina. I'm in the Piedmont region, close to Charlotte, I guess is my nearest big city. Yeah.
Okay. All of this time I was thinking you was in London.
London, really?
No, I'm just joking.
I was gonna say with this accent, I guess it's possible, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So are you a religious person? Do you believe in God?
Yes, I do. I'm from the South. I identify as Baptist. I feel like God is kind of like, it's such a big part of our culture here. So of course, yeah.
Hey, that's always a good thing. Is we need more people to be. I guess you identify as Christian, right? Yes. Okay. So growing up, was you always close to your mother and father?
I was, for the most part, I guess my mom was a stay-at-home mom. So we stayed at home with her. I have two other brothers, one older and one younger. And my dad was always there, though. We loved my dad. So, yeah, we were very close, especially growing up in the middle of nowhere. You kind of just have your family. So I guess we didn't really have much of a choice but to like each other.
Yeah, that's always good when people grow up close to their mother and the father is really there and involved. I know my parents, they divorced real young, so I really didn't get to experience them actually both being together. But do you have any children of your own?
Yes, I have one. He is 4.
Okay. Are you still with the father?
No, I'm not.
Oh, okay. So are you single currently?
Yes.
Oh, so you available? Are you dating?
Oh, that's a loaded question. I feel like Joel said that too. He's like, she's available. I'm like, I don't know about all that. Because I'm kind of at the point where, once I separated from my son's father, I think my son was only like 4 months old when we separated. So I've just always had it in my mind that, I wouldn't try to really date until he was like in kindergarten, or it just depends on his developmental stage. Like, I want him to be able to have a grasp of who's a good, like, if he says, Mommy, I don't like this person, or if he's, if anything happens, he can talk to me about it. So I've, just been single and focused on being a mother these past couple years. So am I available? I don't really it would just depend on, the guy and just so many other things.
So you don't have a boyfriend?
No.
Okay. But currently you're not dating anybody. You're not interested in dating nobody.
I mean, if I date from, here and there, but I have yet to really find anything that's serious enough to move forward with.
Okay. Are you interested in Pookie and Ray Ray?
No, not at all. And let's be clear, Pookie and Ray Ray come in all colors, because that's part of why I get dragged. I'll say Pookie and Ray Ray and people think I'm just talking about black guys. No, Pookie and Ray Ray can be any color.
Do you date white guys?
Yeah, I date. I don't discriminate based on race. Like my son's father, he's Caucasian, but I've dated, I think, pretty much any and all races throughout my life.
Is that right?
Yep.
Okay, so what trend would you prefer, black men or white men?
I don't have a preference as far as color. It has to do with the guy. Like, I like men who are professional. I tend to like guys who are educated, whether that's college or whether he's throughout my life, I've met people who they didn't go to college, but they're very well read. And if they don't know something, they're going to go learn it. So it's more of a set of characteristics and, personality traits that attract me more than a color. Like, you get what I'm saying? I don't have a color preference when it comes to men.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
I always prefer to date black women. I was always interested in black women, which is surprising to a lot of people based off of the stuff I say on my channel. They'd be like, "Oh, I thought you would be with a white girl." It's like, no. I identify with Christianity first, right?
Right.
So I don't just judge every situation just based off of race, because I don't know if you noticed that. I noticed that black people turned their skin color into a religion. Basically, yes.
That's a perfect way to put it. Yeah.
You're right. I know some black people, we have the crab in a barrel mentality.
Yes.
And the people that have the crab in a barrel mentality, they don't even know they have the crab in a barrel mentality.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, like I moved away from North Philly. I used to live in North Philly, and then I moved to like the suburban area of New Jersey, which isn't that far from Philadelphia. And I had one of my black friends was like, "Oh, you don't care about the black community. You giving your money to white people. You don't care about the black dollar." And I'm just like, what the heck is a black dollar anyway? Anyway, what is the black dollar? That's a good question. What exactly is the black dollar? I don't know if you ever heard of anybody talk about some black dollar thing.
I think I have heard something kind of similar to what you're saying, like how people will claim that we need to keep our money in our community. Mm-hmm. I guess that's kind of the concept of, if you're going to spend money, spend it with your own people, Right. I don't disagree with, but when I look at where I'm going to spend my money or what I'm, like, for example, if I have to hire somebody to fix something, I don't really get why I should just hire any random black person as opposed to kind of going and saying, okay, well, who has a history of doing good work? Because I did that one time. I did during when everything was shut down. I had a guy come look at my washing machine, and he had like no reviews or anything. But I was like, you know what? He's a brother. Let me give him a chance. And he made my situation worse, and I had to pay double to fix what he like had broken. So I feel like it's a weird concept. Like, I don't think we should so much say, oh, black dollar, we have to spend money with black people. Who is best for the job? Who's best for the situation? Like, I definitely feel like you said, you know, black is a religion, and it's like, it's not always about color, you know?
Yeah, and I think it's stupid to think that money is going to change black people behavior. There's no there's no white man legislation that can change how black people act culturally, and there's no black dollar that could change how black people act culturally. I don't care how many black babies we send to the NFL, the NBA, and they built some kind of rec center back in the hood. That's not going to really change the culture of the people. The culture have to change within each individual home, and there's nobody else that could change that but you as yourself. Black people, in my opinion, we need to start seeing ourselves as individuals and stop seeing ourselves as all like it's everybody else's job but yours to save your children.
Right.
It's the white man government need to save your children. The basketball player got to save your children. Is the person that used to live next door to you that actually worked hard and went to college and became a doctor, is their job to save your children. It's everybody's responsibility but the individual black man and black woman to actually raise their black children correctly.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. That's definitely the mentality of not all, but a good majority of our race.
Right. And anybody that see it that way, that's black, is a coon.
Right. They call me a coon, Uncle Tom. I was once called a black white supremacist, I think is how they put it. Uncle Ruckus. Like, I've heard it all. And it's just like, y'all are weird. Like, y'all are so weird.
Right.
I take it all in stride. It's whatever.
And a white person better never dare say that, because there are going to be all kinds of white supremacists for speaking the truth about black folks. And I always tell black people, it's not white people's job to save black people.
I agree.
So for the audience, a lot of people don't really know who Pookie and Ray Ray is. Who is Pookie and Ray Ray?
Pookie and Ray Ray are members of Blackistan. You will typically find them in their grandma's house, not working. They typically will mooch off of the women in their community. They're also what we refer to as hobosexual, meaning they enter relationships just to have a place to live, to have somebody's car to drive. Pookie and Ray Ray are just like the epitome. I guess you could refer to them kind of as the anti-man. They are the opposite of all things masculine. They're a menace, and they destroy the lives of any and everyone they touch. They are first their mother's problem. They graduate into being the school's problem, then their girlfriend's problem, and in very bad cases, they are, the law's problem. They're just menaces to society.
That's a good explanation of who they actually are. Who is LaQuisha and Shanae?
Oh my, LaQuisha and Shanae, they are the female Pookie and Ray Ray. And, they're another casualty of Blackistan, as I like to call them. These are the women who, I guess you could call them the anti-feminine. They are loud. I was going to say uneducated, but I would actually say that they scoff at education. They tend to be very emotionally driven. When Pookie Ray Ray comes and says, I love you, let's start a family, they don't have any type of foresight or critical thinking to go, well, wait, he doesn't have a job. So it's just very emotionally driven. They tend to not learn their lesson the first time, so they become baby mamas a couple times over. And eventually what tends to happen with them is they will either end up living on government assistance, or they may end up, becoming the strong Black woman who is working 2 jobs, crappy daycares are raising her kids, and then they graduate into low-performing schools. And eventually, by the time they're teenagers, they're either in jail. In very bad cases, they lose their lives, or they evolve into, the next generation of LaQuishas and the next generation of Pookie and Ray Rays. And it's just a generational, horrible thing that is the plague of the Black community, in my opinion. It's like all the stereotypes that people get angry when they hear white people say, they're the stereotypes, and there's no way that they self-reflect, they don't learn, and it just continues from generation to generation, basically.
Yeah, they're the world star hip-hop Black people.
Exactly. Shade room, like all that. Yeah, just yeah.
As that conversation that we're having, my channel, I encourage white people to have this conversation out loud.
Yes.
Don't be afraid of black people. A lot, especially the Pookie and the Ray Rays and the LaQuisha and Shanae, they want to shame white people for actually speaking any truth, especially the black race hustlers and the white politicians, because their goal is to encourage the black community to stay down. Because if they encourage the black community to think for themselves and be individuals, nobody black will be voting Democrat anymore.
I think.
And I was watching your YouTube channel today, and I ran across one of your short videos, right? And you said something about some guy tried to get your number in a Starbucks or something like that, or he paid Cash App you some money for your Starbucks, but he overpaid for what you purchased there. And then you said if a guy wants your number, you make them pay for it. What do you mean by that?
Okay, when I made that, I was it was on the fly and I was being facetious. I don't mean that I literally make them pay for it, but around here, again, I'm in the South, so we still are very heavily rooted in chivalry and traditional gender roles. So when men are interested, like I was in Starbucks, the guy, he was trying to talk to me. I was just like, dude, I'm just about my business. But then he was like, well, let me get your coffee. And that showed me that, okay, you're not a Pookie, you're not a Ray Ray, at least in this brief interaction that we're having, you're offering to provide something to me. So that makes me think, okay, you're not just another guy who's going to waste my time. Like, typically that's how men kind of show their first interest in a woman. Like, let me take you out to dinner. Let me take you on a date. If we're in the grocery store and I have a bottle of wine, hey, let me get that for you. And because we're so heavily rooted in, traditional gender roles, typically in a relationship, the man's going to be the provider. So when he takes interest in a woman, he right off the bat shows her, okay, look, hey, I'm safe here. Buy your coffee. Let me do this for you. Let me take you on a nice date. I'm not just going to invite you over my house for Netflix because I'm a stranger, and that's one of the things I think I definitely appreciate about living in the South is that it's just and especially from what I've been hearing online, there's just a whole different type of man down here, apparently. Oh
yeah. It's the culture is completely different.
Mm-hmm.
Based off of my personality and my values, I feel like I live in the wrong part of the country. The northeast of the United States is terrible.
That's what the women have been saying. Like it's rough out there.
I mean, everybody has a left-wing mindset.
Oh, I bet that's what it is. I didn't think of it like that, but definitely.
Yeah. So, but for me, I never initially usually give women money or pay for anything right away until we go on a date, and then I pay for the date. But I never just walk up to them at a grocery store and be like, "Let me buy your groceries for you."
Hey, maybe you should try it. I mean, if you it's on y'all's part. It's if you see the woman and you're like, "Wow, I have to get to know her." I mean, you're not just doing that for any woman. Mm-hmm. You're doing that for somebody you see and, you feel her energy, and you're just like, I have to get to know this woman. What's the best way for me to approach her and impress her? It's not, and I think part of the reason I got drug over that video is because people are thinking, oh, every man I see is doing this to me. It's like, no, just if I'm out somewhere and I just really attract and engage somebody just by who I am, my energy, and what I look like, if he's just like, I have to impress, and he's going to do that. It's not something you do for every woman you see, definitely.
So you said that you got drugged. Did you got a lot of backlash for that video?
Yeah, mainly from Blackistan, the Manosphere. They were angry, and I'm like, y'all are so weird. But to me, and this is why I'm kind of trying to make the Southern thing my niche, because I live in a different world apparently. Because they were mad, Lord, they were mad.
Yeah, I could believe it. It could easily be taken out of context. That's for sure.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so let me ask you, what do you think about Kevin Samuels?
Kevin Samuels, okay, so I have not watched a ton of his content, but I did watch a couple of his videos because I kept, people kept talking about him. And I just feel like he's mainly just really about shock value. Because, I'll give him that. He has some good points, especially when he starts talking about, the Pygmisha and Boquisha, and because, one thing I like to say is women are screwed up too. Like, let's not just be on here talking about men. Like, women are screwed up. And honestly, I kind of think evil women are more dangerous than men. So he has a lot of good points, but I'm like, dude, sometimes you're just doing stuff for the shock factor. And because it's funny, because it gets views, and that's cool. It's the internet. It's what you do. So, I guess I'm kind of lukewarm about him. I don't have disdain for him, but, I'm not watching his content, and I tend to not really vibe with his fan base because they're the ones attacking me,
He does speak a lot of truth.
Right.
If you're 35 years old with 2 or 3 kids, you definitely don't qualify for the same guys that a young 21-year-old with no kids qualified for.
I don't know about all that, but again, I live in a different world, And one thing I've noticed is that, like, as I got older, like around 25, the caliber of men that were attracted to me were better. Like, the 50-year-olds who were talking to 20-year-old me were not the 50-year-olds who were talking to 18-year-old me. You get what I mean? It was a much better caliber of man as I got older. And I feel like that has a lot to do with the fact that, men date younger women in general. But the ones who are trying to get the really young girls, typically something is, it's just something weird up there. So I feel like the older I get, the better men I have access to and the better men that are attracted to me. And I feel like that has a lot to do with the individual men, them having, a sense of maturity and a sense of, I want a wife and I don't want somebody who's 21. I don't want somebody who's 18. I want somebody who has moved, her brain's fully formed. Like, a lot of the men who are good men that I've encountered and who are in their 40s and up, and they're successful, they are, real estate investors, stock market guys, they don't want the 18 to 21-year-olds. They want the 25 to 35-year-olds because they're trying to build a family and generational wealth. And the types of traits that women in that age range possess greatly outweigh, just a 21-year-old who's hot and, but maybe she wants you to make TikTok videos with her. And she, she's just not really engaged. And that's not really somebody you want to replicate your legacy with. You get what I mean? So that's just kind of how things are around here.
So if you started a better group of guys you claim you have access to that's talking to you now that you're a little older than before when you were so-called 18 or 19 years old, right? You're getting better men to approach you. If that's the case, what's the reason you don't stick with them guys and maybe get married to them?
It could be a lot of things, but I think the general reason is compatibility. Because, like, when I get married, I don't want to get divorced. I want somebody I'm super compatible with, and that's just a lot. When you think about somebody you're going to spend the rest of your life with, day to day, what are the logistics? For example, the last guy I talked to, he started talking about how he always wanted to live in Dubai. And I'm like, well, I never want to live in Dubai. That's not negotiable for me or anything. So, right there, if we would have continued a relationship, eventually that's going to be an issue. So there's no point in continuing a relationship. You get what I mean? So I think when you're older and you're really trying to find a life partner, you think like that. You're like, okay, this is a good guy, but the deal breaker could be logistically. Maybe he wants to live overseas. I never do. I like my area. I'm not moving. Or maybe you date somebody for 3 months and, you find out something crazy about him, and, that's why I'm definitely more of a, I court people and, the intention is marriage, but I'm not desperate and I'm not going to try to make things work. Because another thing I see women do, which I think is one of our worst traits, is they'll meet the guy who says, oh, I want to move to Dubai one day. And they'll go, oh, well, yeah, that's cool. When they really don't. So they date this guy for a year, 2 years, 3 years. And then when it's time to move to Dubai, they make him choose. And I'm like, I see women do that a lot. And I'm just more about compatibility, and if I meet that guy tomorrow, cool. If I don't meet him until I'm 60, cool. But, I just believe in peace and harmony in relationships. And that just really takes two people who are basically, made for each other, I think.
So are you willing to change your last name to Amel's last name?
Yes, I definitely want to take my husband's last name. Yep.
Right. So for the women that want to move to Dubai, if a guy want to move to Dubai after you date them for so long and they've been told you that,
Yeah.
early on, you do like as a woman, you're marrying into a man's world. You're marrying into his world. He's not marrying into your world. So you have to get on the man program. The man doesn't necessarily have to get on the female program.
Right. And I think, that again comes down to compatibility. You find a man who is already kind of in line with what you want. Like,
Yeah. Hopefully,
Yeah. I mean, I'm just not about fighting and having relationships where everything's an argument and you're so different, because it's like you can just wait and, hold out for somebody who's more like you. Because I feel like a lot of people think, oh, opposites attract. Yeah. It's like, okay, maybe that's cool for like the first 6 months to a year. But when you're getting deep in the weeds with somebody and you're talking about, how you're going to raise your children, where you're going to live, what religion you're going to have, how you're going to spend your retirement, like when my dad gets old, I want my dad to come live with me, and if my potential husband just can't see himself, sharing his space with an in-law, that's kind of a deal breaker. So, it's a lot.
You're going to be on a search for a minute.
Yeah. And that's cool. I'm cool with being single. Like, I want a partner, but it's not going to be at the expense of me or him being unhappy because one of us doesn't want to compromise on something that's pivotal,
Yeah, man. For me, I'm definitely not going to take care of my parents when they're older. And my wife is not going to do that neither. Now we'll go visit them. Yeah, and
that's cool. Different strokes for different folks. That's cool. That's cool.
And I get it because even for me, living in the northeast of the United States, based off of how I feel and think politically and where my stance religiously, it's really hard to find a female that kind of line up with what I want, let alone a black female as well. So I kind of get it. It is a little hard. And by my channel, I got some real strong views. And most black women out here, their skin is their religion. They don't know nothing else.
Oh, that sounds exhausting. That's such an exhausting way to live, in my opinion.
But I got a decent girl now. She's awesome. She's great.
That's good.
So let me ask you, what is black culture?
Oh, that's a good question. That's a good loaded question. I have no idea. Because if you ask me, black culture to me is my black Southern culture. Like, I grew up in the middle of nowhere, basically, on a stretch of land that my ancestors bought from slave owners. So for me, black culture means family. It means church. It means, having your dad in the house and your dad teaching you right from wrong. It means everything to me that it seems to mean differently for other black people, because they attack me. They're like, what's your problem? And they kind of think that every black person has to have the same answer to what does it mean to be black? What is black culture? And my answer has just always been so different, Right. That's a really good question. I think it comes down to the individual, kind of like you were saying at the beginning.
Right. And I don't know. I don't really care too much for black culture. I care more about American culture.
Definitely.
My goal is to live the American dream. My goal isn't to live a black dream.
Right.
The American dream just sounds so much more greater. And also, like, when it comes to black culture, most black people, we don't even know what the hell we are. Black people they argue. Are we black? Are we Hebrew Israelites? Are we African Americans? Nobody knows what we are. Like, I'm just my skin is black, obviously, but I'm just an American. I'm a black, I guess, American, but I'm cool with all them titles. Like, but the people that say, oh, you don't care about the culture, I say, do you even know what black culture is? They don't even know. They don't know what they're supposed to be. They're like, oh, well, we're Hebrew Israelites. We're the Moors, we're the Hamite people, or we're black people. Like, we're African? No, to me, we're this black folks with African descent in America. Yes. I'm not too into the whole black thing, so I don't really care about that stuff. It's so stupid to even worry about.
I think so too.
That same black community that we're supposed to love so much, that's the same community that will watch your brother get shot in the middle of the street And when the cops come, no, we don't know. We ain't snitching. We ain't see nothing.
Yeah.
That's the culture that you adapt. I don't care about no black dollar. If you go broke and lose your job in the hood, guess what? And there ain't gonna be no community there to save you.
Oh, you're right.
And
you better preach.
and I live around both of my neighbors are white, I guess, right? So one of my black friends that tried to shame me for moving out the hood, they like, oh, you just want to live around white people. You want to live around white people. I'm just like, ignorant black man. You don't know what the suburbs is like. It doesn't matter if my neighbors are white, black, or candy stripe. When I come home from work, I don't see them ever. So
yes,
it's like, why do I care if my neighbors are black? These are people that I never see. I'll never see my neighbors ever. Rare, maybe they'll barbecue or something and they just so happen to be white. But, in a city in Philadelphia, it's hard to find parking right in Philadelphia. So now I live in the suburbs. I just pull straight up right in front of my house and walk in. Not an issue.
Oh, that's awesome, ain't it, man?
Yeah, I don't care about, I have to live around black people. My goal is to live around good people.
Exactly. I agree. Yep.
So yeah, the culture thing is stupid. Right now there's a culture war against straight white Christian conservative men. Do you agree with that?
I definitely do. Yes.
Yeah. White men could literally, and girls could be fired on their day off for simply just stating all lives matter.
That's wrong, in my opinion, because all lives do matter, if you ask me. I mean,
yeah. There's a culture war. So let me ask you, who has more freedom of speech in the United States, black folks or white folks?
Definitely black folks.
Absolutely.
Black people can't even be racist. Remember, that's what they say. Yeah. We can't be racist.
Yeah, black people are the most racist people in the country.
I agree. Yeah, I do.
And black people hate black people, and black people hate white people. You should hear it away in Philadelphia. The blacks talk to the Chinese people when they go into their stores. They talk to them crazy.
Oh my God, that's horrible.
Even though Chinese people ain't pro-black neither.
Yeah.
Is Puerto Rican the same thing as black in your opinion?
No, not exactly. I do know there are, black Puerto Ricans, but I don't think it's the same thing.
Afro-Latino, right?
Yes.
Yeah, right now, there's such a culture war against straight white men straight white Christian conservative men, because we all know that is an attack on masculinity in general. There's also an attack on Christianity for sure.
Yeah.
And I would say, thank God for the white man, because the straight white Christian conservative man is the only person standing in the way of the radical blacks from destroying the country.
Yeah, that's the truth. It's the truth. I've never thought of it that way, but you're right.
Yeah. Also, you would say, are you on the right or on the left? Obviously, you're on the right.
I would say I'm on the right. I identify as conservative.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of black people, they can't even comprehend this conversation of what I was saying. They wouldn't get it.
Right.
They would just say, oh, you don't care about black people. No, I care about black people enough to tell them the truth.
Yes, that's how I feel. Exactly. Yes.
And I would say most white people don't love black people, because if most white people love black people, they would love black people enough to tell them the truth.
Yeah, I can definitely see that side as well, because a lot of them, they're so afraid of being called racist, they don't. And in some situations, I think it may even be to their detriment,
Right. Yeah, I think that white people need to stop being intimidated by black folks when black people try to shame them and be like, oh, y'all had us in slavery. Like, that doesn't mean anything. Like, most white people migrated here after slavery.
Right.
Like their ancestors. And then a lot of black folks are so ignorant, they don't even know that most black people, even during the 18th century, they was not slaves. Most black people was actually free all around the world, all around the country, rather, right? You never heard about no slaves in Oregon.
No. Mm-hmm.
Slavery was only in 7 states, and I don't know exactly what the number was, but it was a small amount of black folks that was actually enslaved in America. And there was only a very, very small portion of white people who was actually slave owners. So if anybody's going to be angry with just because you descend from the race that enslaved people, you're a descendant of a slave owner based off of your skin, right?
Right.
White people should be more upset with black people because historically, people of African descent enslaved way more white people historically throughout the whole world. Black people are the kings and queens of slavery. Black people love to brag about we're God first man. We're the original man, right? During the time of slavery in the United States, there was actually well over 2 million Caucasian slaves in North Africa. So if anybody's going to be upset about slavery, shouldn't it be the white folks?
Yeah, and even like now, I just feel like it's not productive the way people are like, oh, we were slaves. What does that have to do with life in 2021? I mean, we can attribute, the effects of slavery on a couple of, things that eventually got to today. But if you're lucky enough to be born in America, like regardless of your race, we are so fortunate. We have so many opportunities. And I just get irritated when, slavery is constantly brought up like, slavery is going to stop me from walking outside my door tomorrow and getting in my car. Like we are free. And I'm just so thankful to be American. And,
Right.
That's kind of just how I think. You can start off poor in America and end up, it's up to your decisions. You might not be a billionaire, but you can work your way into stability, where
Right.
you have a house and you have food. Maybe you don't have everything you want, but, you're able to sleep peacefully at night. Like, and I just hate how slavery is brought up and people just grasp onto it with both hands and don't see anything else.
That's because most black people are ignorant and they say, they tell me, oh, you're just caping for white people. No, honestly, you're the one that don't do no research. All you know is what white people told you to think. You can't think for yourself. Everything I said about slavery was factually true. Most black people in the United States back then was not slaves. It was a very, very small amount. However, we are brainwashed and our leaders are Hollywood. So Hollywood make a movie called Roots and we take it as factuality. It's like it just was not true, and black people are they're brainwashed by white people. They think that black folks on the right, we're the one that's brainwashed. We can't think for ourselves. We want to be white. It's like they don't realize they're like black so-called Democrat people and people that vote for the black or for the Democratic Party. All that is white liberal ideology.
Right.
You're literally following the white man. You're following white Hollywood when you vote for the Democratic Party.
I agree.
The pro-black white man is the white man that encouraged black women to get abortions, right? The white supremacist white man, the one that encouraged black women to keep their babies, he's considered the white supremacist. So we're so backwards that the actual racist white people that want black people to kill their babies are considered our friends, our allies. But if you white and you preach against abortion, then you are a white supremacist. Everything is backwards.
It is, definitely.
Right now we're living in a time where men can be women and women can be men. And if you preach against this, you're a racist, you're a coon, you're all kinds of stuff. Right.
And for me, the LGBTQ community, I feel like, that's y'all's business. That's how, a lot of people are born. I don't think anybody, well, I guess I could have said that maybe when I was a kid. Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think anybody wants to be trans. I don't think anybody chooses that. It's something that you're born with. It's, and they talk about how, it's a thing with the brain and all that. And all that's cool. Y'all do what y'all want. At the same time, I just, especially as a mother, I hate to use the word agenda, but it's like, let kids be kids. I hate how now we live in a society where it's almost like, the new thing is to kind of influence your kid to be gay or trans. And, you know, some moms and dads, they kind of get a kick off of that. And now they can get attention from their kid because, oh, I have a trans kid. And it's like, your kid's 4. Let them be a kid. My kid thought he was a dinosaur the other day. Am I going to dress him up as a dinosaur every day? And, you know, I feel like they see it as us speaking against them. And it's, most people just, you know, we don't care. It's not like we're trying to stop y'all. It's just, you know, when you look at the world and how everybody's just trying to force, you know, anybody who's traditional, anybody who's conservative, we're constantly told, oh, you know, you're a bigot, you're this and that. And it's like, no, we just want to live the way we want to. And it's like, it's one-sided tolerance. Like, we have to be tolerant of y'all, but you guys are totally intolerant of us. You know, if I say I want a masculine husband who doesn't paint his fingernails, you know, I'm a bigot, I'm this and that. And it's like, so there's just a lot of infighting and all that. It's just weird, in my opinion.
The left, the Democrats, they control the culture by controlling the language.
Yeah.
There's only gay or straight. There's no such thing as a trans, because there's no such thing as a transformer. No woman can transform into a man, and no man can transform successfully into a woman. So there's really, honestly, in reality, I understand, and liberal ideology is different, but in reality, there's really no such thing as a trans person.
Yeah, and I like how you said that. There definitely is, and I say this all the time, it's like we live in different worlds within the same world. And in their world, like you just said, that's what they believe, and it's concrete as a fact in their world. And anybody who says anything else is a bad person. Right.
Now, they control the language, just like when it comes to vaccination, right? If you don't want to get a vaccine, then you are considered an anti-vaxxer. But how does that make you anti-vax? Because you personally don't want to get the vaccination. It doesn't mean that you're against other people getting a vaccination. But like I said, the left, they control the culture because they control the language. So anybody that don't want to get a vaccination, they consider that person an anti-vaxxer, and that's not true.
Yeah, I think that's wrong, because you don't know what's going on with people medically, and I don't think it's anybody's business. If somebody says they don't want to get vaccinated, you don't know. Like, some people are allergic to vaccines. A lot of people don't want to be an experiment because they see it as, hey, this thing's new. I might get it, but I'm not getting it right now. And yeah, definitely the way the left is just like demonizing people who say, I don't want to get vaxxed, that kind of irks me, because I feel like if we put everybody in a position with, okay, it's a mandate, you have to take this shot, that just really sends our democracy down a slippery slope. And I don't, you know, I don't want that for us as a country. We can't mandate that people inject things into their bodies. Like, we have medical freedom here.
Right. And then I try to talk to Black people a lot on my channel, right? Do you think most Black people know that it's actually the Democratic Party that want to force you to get a vaccination? Do most Black people know that it's actually a political movement to get you vaccinated?
I don't think so.
Now, imagine if it was Donald Trump, the orange man, who was saying, yes, I want to force you to get a vaccination. He would be a white supremacist neo-Nazi. But
yeah, Trump never would, though.
Guy, yeah, right. It's if you ain't vote for us, you ain't Black president. The pro-Black, the first pro-Black president, more pro-Black than Obama, right? So now it's okay. What Joe Biden says is okay.
Yeah, it's a double standard, definitely.
He's the leader. Joe Biden is the face of Blackness. He is the leader of Black people.
Ooh, I didn't think of it like that, but you're right.
And Dr. Fauci is his assistant to destroy Black people. Okay, so that's enough about the vaccination, right? Before we get canceled.
All right.
What is Black girl magic? What does that mean?
I don't know. Like, I hear it all the time. I'm thinking maybe it came out of like the way so many young Black girls are brainwashed to think that they're unattractive. You know, I think it was kind of like a response to that type of thing. It's not in my vocabulary. It's not something I don't think I've ever used to refer to myself as.
What is white girl magic?
Is that a thing?
No, but white girls should start saying it.
The world would burn.
Yeah, absolutely. And the reason why I brought up black girl magic and white girl magic is to show you that that's another way of proving our point that we talked about earlier, that black people have way more freedom of speech.
Mm-hmm.
A white girl, how dare her say white girl magic? Right? How dare a white person, a white man, wear a t-shirt that says white fathers matter, right? Or a white person say white power. Black people, we can say white power. We can say black girl magic. We could say, I'm proud to be black. White people can't say they're proud to be white at all.
Yeah, you're right. We actually talked about that on my channel one time. And I asked the question, like, when is it ever going to be okay to be white? Like, when are white people ever just going to be able to exist and be happy for who they are and have pride in themselves without being told that they're racist or that they're white supremacists? Like, is it ever going to be okay to be white? I don't know.
Maybe when everybody look like Steph Curry, then it'll be okay.
Probably.
So, I talk about a lot of black issues on my channel. The thing is, what is your opinion about, the Democratic Party and their defund the police movement?
Oh, I believe that is absolutely insane. Like, if you defund the police, and again, I'm in the country, but I often think about my fellow black women and their children in the ghetto a lot. If you defund the police, what are they going to do? Like, who are they going to call when Pookie and Ray Ray are tripping? I feel like people saying defund the police are either crazy or they live in areas where they don't have any crime or anything. Like, it makes me angry to hear that. We need more police, if anything.
Right. And the same party the Democratic Party that want to defund the police is also the same party that don't want you to have a gun. So they don't believe in self-defense. They believe in defunding the police and taking your guns while doing it. And then they brainwash black people and teach you that marijuana being legalized is more important than you owning a firearm.
That is crazy. Now, I mean, I'm from the South, so I'm kind of biased, of course, 2A all the way around these parts. I don't understand where they think it could go. Okay. If we take the police out and then nobody can be legally armed. Okay. So now you have no police and you have a bunch of criminals who are armed because they're not going to give up their guns. Like, it's just crazy. I don't think, and I can't remember who said this, but they were talking about how, the black community as a whole, like, we tend to have issues with foresight and with seeing things into the future. Because it's like, if y'all are destroying yourselves if y'all keep listening to these people. Like, it's ridiculous.
Okay. Are you a pothead?
Am I pot? No, I'm not a pothead. Now, I do eat Delta 8 gummies. Delta 8, thank you, Donald Trump. And people don't give Trump credit for this, but he legalized, a form of hemp that has low THC, and it can help a ton of people, like people with insomnia. And, this is not medical advice or anything, but I feel like if Trump would have got a second term, he definitely would have legalized pot. 100%. I feel like that was kind of him dipping the toe in, and he's helped a lot of people. There have been a lot of dispensaries that have opened up where I'm from. And it's called the 2018 Farm Bill for anybody who wants to look into that, the hemp. So yeah, I'm definitely a big proponent of, legal medical strains of marijuana, and I use CBD tincture and gummies, and it's not to get high. It's because you don't get high off of it. You just get a relaxing feeling if you're in pain. I mean, right. Trump gave us such a gift and he never got the credit for that. And it drives me crazy.
If we could fight for something, which one, in your opinion, is more important to loosen up on the laws? Marijuana laws or gun laws?
If we could fight for gun laws to loosen them up, loosen them up, marijuana definitely. Because I feel like again, I think it can be medicinal for people because I feel like it's gotten a bad reputation because of potheads, because of people that just sit around and smoke all day and don't do anything.
I feel the same way about firearm. I feel like it got a bad reputation. Oh,
yeah. Yeah, I feel like it's a situation where people, a small majority of these people just ruin it for everybody. Kind of like, I mean, we say it around these parts. I don't know if everybody says it. Like, it just takes a couple to ruin everything for everybody,
Right now, the Second Amendment is actually being argued in the Supreme Court by New York. They are arguing for the right to bear arms outside of their home. In New York, you're not allowed, unless you're like some kind of like police officer or judge, you're not allowed to, it's like damn near impossible to get a permit to carry a gun outside of your home in New York City, right? So what do you think about places like New York and New Jersey and Illinois and California on the gun rights there? Do you feel like it's way too strict?
Oh, that is a good question. Because, the Southerner in me is like, hey, if people train and they're licensed and they, take classes and everything, let them have a gun. But when you get into places like New York, where you have so many people close together, especially when you have a high concentration of Blackistan inhabitants in certain areas, I feel like I kind of understand why it's stricter, because it's kind of a recipe for disaster. But then again, you have situations where, okay, now the honest people aren't armed because the criminals are going to keep their guns. You're not going to get guns. They're going to walk around with their guns. They're going to pop a cap in something when they want to. So I guess I'm kind of on, that's one of the things I feel like is kind of like out of my pay grade to worry about, because I'm like, I don't know what they're going to do up there. I just have no idea, because I can see both sides of the issue.
I only see one side.
Okay, what's that?
What does shall not be infringed mean to you?
Is in regards to the Constitution?
Yes.
I think that means that around these parts, we would say, don't tread on me. Like, you can't infringe upon people's rights.
Right. Exactly. The government should have no right to tell you how many rounds you can have in your gun, or tell you can't bear arms. The cops aren't always going to be there in time to save you. Think about it. In New York City, for a woman getting off a bus or a train or a subway 2 a.m, all by herself, what is our advice to her? Oh, run fast as you can, and the cops should get there fast enough to save your life. But New York City, the mayor want to defund the police and take the right away to bear arms and defend yourself.
Ooh, you couldn't pay me to live, like Hank Williams Jr. said, send me to hell or New York City. It's about the same thing to me. You couldn't pay me to go up there.
Right.
I feel for them.
Okay. Yeah, that's enough about the gun rights. Right. All right. So yeah, we're gonna wrap it up here shortly.
Okay.
So, was slavery racist?
Oh, that is a good question. Okay, here's my answer. I believe when, everything started. Okay, let me think how I want to answer this. I think that once the slaves arrived in America, it became a racist thing because it was easy. It was easy for white people to go, oh, black people, this and that. But I feel like the basis of slavery was not in race as much as it was just about slavery and making people a commodity and making money. Like, I don't think slavery is innately about race. I think it was just about opportunity, having opportunity to enslave people, right, getting labor for free. But I do think once it got to America, yeah, definitely, because it was easy. It was an easier way to keep people enslaved once they got here, Slavery
was a business.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And all we know is what white people taught us in school. So a lot of black folks don't even realize that black people been here before the so-called Christopher Columbus, great white man, ever came to the
right,
Western civilization, right? And he actually never even stepped foot on America, like what we know now as the United States. Christopher Columbus never even made it here. And there was already black folks here in United States, even though it wasn't the United States at the time. However, black folks, we've been brainwashed to believe that this is some native Indian country, and the native Indians was the owners of this land. They was here too, but it was also plenty of African descended people here as well. And that's why black people always like to brag about, oh, my grandmother was Indian. It's never the grandfather. Every black person you talk to, their grandmother was Indian. Right. But black people been here. Slavery was not racist. Slavery was business. That's why black folks owned slaves in the South as well.
Oh,
slavery was strictly business. And in Africa, they enslaved white folks and black folks, right? And they was the one. Black people are the leaders of the slave trade, and even to today, black folks are the leaders of the slave trade today.
Yeah, because it's not over, and people don't realize that it's still going on.
Exactly.
Like,
but they don't know. All they know is what white folks taught them, and they think that I'm the one that's caping for white people, but they don't really know their history. They don't know anything.
Right.
So the civil rights movement, was that a good thing or a bad thing for black folks?
Oh, these are really good questions, by the way. Let me think. I think it kind of depends on which ideology you were going with. Like, I feel like Dr. King had some good points. I guess I just feel like it wasn't a bad thing. I think, because sometimes I'll hear people talk about civil rights and I just hear victimhood, and then you talk to other people who were alive back then and they'll tell you how, well, yeah, the world was racist, but, I got a job, I took care of my family, and flash forward to 2021, we have generational wealth. So it's hard for me to say, I feel like maybe there was some good out of it, but I also feel like perhaps we could have done more good had we just taken the victimhood narrative out of it and had we applied ourselves and worked and built our own, built our generational wealth. Like my ancestors, they were alive back then and they made it through the racism that was in the 50s. And so, I'm just, I guess I just have a different view on it, like,
yeah,
I don't know. That was a really good question. I'm not sure how to really answer it.
Civil rights movement, besides Barack, the fallen Messiah Obama, was the worst thing that ever happened to black people.
Oh, you think so? Okay.
The worst thing in the world. The civil rights movement created the victimhood mentality for black folks. The civil rights movement destroyed the nuclear family amongst black folks. The civil rights movement took the fathers out of the home and made the white man the black woman daddy.
Yeah, I can see that side too. Yeah, definitely.
The civil rights movement, there's no legislation that the white man can write that can make white people love black folks. I totally disagree with the civil rights movement. However, I think Martin Luther King was a good man, but his movement, especially once he died, was hijacked by all the race hustlers, the Al Sharptons and Jesse Jacksons, and then they completely destroyed it, and then they got in bed with the Democratic Party to destroy the black community. So anyway, Kay, this was awesome.
It was. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. And before we run out of time, shout everything out that you got going on.
Sure. The best way to get in touch with me is just to Google Kay Whitworth, WHITWORTH. Can't spell my own name. I'm on TikTok. I'm on YouTube. Definitely, if you are a woman or you know a woman, I feel like my channel has a lot to offer to women who are in this modern world. And you're still conservative. You're still somewhat traditional. We have a lot of fun. So I just invite y'all to check me out.
Oh, nice. All right, everybody, go check her out. Hey, Kay, stay with me for a second.
Okay.